This is Gray Cook, and I'm talking today with Brett Jones about an upcoming event with StrongFirst where we're working with the FMS and a lot of the FMS Level 2 information, but even to a different extent, more tailored toward the StrongFirst community. The reason Brett and I are talking today is I want to make sure that the medical professionals out there, specifically our SFMA populations that we have trained, the ones at TPI, the ones that have learned at different places, to realize that you don't have to become a strength coach to at least appreciate and speak strength coach. Before we get started, and before I ask Brett some questions, I just want to give a common thread. Myself, Greg Rose, Mike Voigt, Kyle Kiesel have all had a strength conditioning background right beside our clinical background. And I think it's almost an intangible amount of success that we've had in sports and athletic and even fitness communities because we at least speak fitness, we speak strength conditioning. And that has been a hallmark of the way the four of us have practiced for quite some time. When Brett and I were originally working with the functional movement screen and kettlebells, we invited one of the clinicians, Banad Anabash, one of our instructors, to come attend one of the events because his entire education had been more on the personal fitness side, on the physical therapy side, on the osteopathic side. And with the simple skill set that we gave him, simple stuff, Turkish get-up, deadlift, kettlebell lifting maneuvers, farmer's carry, swing, and even some movement act skills, Banad immediately incorporated those into his clinical practice. Brett, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the environment where engineering with StrongFirst and clinicians can probably really, really broaden their ability to discuss and even implement basic strength conditioning within 3 days.
Absolutely. I think, well, first, the brilliant thing that Mark Toomey and StrongFirst and Pavel, what they've done is created a situation where you don't have to be the kettlebell instructor. Our StrongFirst certifications are physically demanding. We put people through the ringer. We make sure that they can perform the lifts to our standards, and we make it physically demanding. The opportunity that the people coming into this workshop have is not only the opportunity to see the FMS Level 2 correctives, get a window into, within FMS, we talk about getting our mobility competency, going after static stability, dynamic stability, and then performance. Within the SFMA communities, it's reset, reinforce, reload. This is the window into all of those things. We're going to talk about the static motor control, dynamic motor control. We're going to talk about your reloads within SFMA, where the get-up, the kettlebell correctives that we use to clean up movement patterns play so well within that, but it's user-friendly. We're going to make it accessible. All you got to do is know your FMS Level 1, come in for your Level 2 information. We're going to show you how we think the kettlebell can be a great tool for that reload or for that static and dynamic motor control.
If you're listening to this and you like what we're saying, your ticket to play is simply an FMS Level 1 certification that you can either do at a live event or online. And obviously, there are going to be some easy ways to find that at the end of this. The thing that I think is probably something that you and myself and Lee Burton have talked about many times, you guys being athletic trainers, is many of us dealing in sports medicine or specifically athletic training, we talk injury prevention, but really what we are is first responders. We literally wait till the injury occurs, and then we try to be there with the best evidence and best treatment possible. But I think we've all witnessed on the sideline, in the gym, in the clinic, so many other things that could be done. But unfortunately, we're operating without signs, and we have to wait for symptoms. The movement screen sort of offered us that, but I think even more so, even getting on the tail end of rehabilitation once an injury's occurred or scrutinizing a workout, hopefully before one has occurred, I think what you're giving us is a template that gets us back to function, meaning strength training or endurance training should not have a negative side effect. But you've heard me say this a million times. I look at a runner and say, listen, running's left a bigger mark on you than you left on it. Or I could say the same thing about a power lifter or something else. So exploiting whatever that specialty is you like, but also making sure that you don't have a very negative side effect as a result of that is really what watching those movement baselines is. Get strong, but not at the expense of your flexibility. Pavel Tsatsouline is a walking, breathing testament to this. This guy is strong, but he can still move. And so many of the people that have heard his message, I think, lose that. He's a living example of that, and I think that's what he and Mark are trying to show. Bodyweight classes, straight bar classes, kettlebell classes, they all have a fundamental movement base inherent to them. Even you, when you try to really hit a PR in powerlifting, you intelligently know, I'm getting ready to give up some movement to get this, but I know how to get it back, and I understand the risk-reward involved. And I think that's very, very important, not just identifying at risk, but being able to go in the gym, any weight room, and delete 5 exercises, introduce 2, say, listen, I saved you 10 minutes 3 times a week, and you're going to be just as strong but more functional.
My new favorite joke is that the only place fitness comes before health is in the dictionary. And
I like that. I like it.
too many people forget that. They get zeroed in on accomplishing whatever goal X is. And like you said, you got a powerlifting meet coming up. You got whatever event that you're trying to peak for. We understand that there can be some sacrifice involved in that, but you got to come back to center after that. Dr. Thomas has told us that the traditional training centered around the martial and the restorative. Martial was the ability to respond appropriately to aggression. It was boxing. It was being a soldier. Now fitness is our martial art, and we've forgotten how to come back to center. How do we do restorative? Like you said, maybe the reason you keep burning your hand is that you're still putting it on a hot stove. We might have to take something away and get you doing 1 or 2 other things and become healthier so that we can make you fit. It's a nice way to do it. And within StrongFirst, I strongly believe that there's some of the best information on how to get and be strong safely within there, as long as we keep our movement base and make things appropriate. We're going to keep championing that message as we go along.
One of the things I would like to say specifically to the SFMA community or clinicians working in sports medicine is the example that I think Greg Rose and Mike Voigt set as they were teaching the SFMA through the TPI community, through the specific golf communities, is prior to the introduction of the TPI science, which is largely based on movement screening, we had a bunch of people trying to replicate the golf swing with bands and cords and weights and devices. And one thing I think that Greg and Mike have been able to articulate is there's a lot of that in the getup. There's a lot of that in the swing. There's a lot of that in the deadlift. There's a lot of that in upper body mobility. And so what they've done is given us permission to secure the foundation, because the one thing I want to communicate to clinicians out there is we're responsible for movement health. And the coach, the technical expert, the guru is responsible for specialized movement. So I think one of the things we need to do in both our rehabilitation line and then our transition back into athletics, fitness, whatever, is we need to hold the line on the fundamentals. We need to hold the line on the fundamental lift and say anything in your programming that takes this away is probably not as beneficial as you think. What I think you and Mark and Pavel have done is you've packaged a set of exercise that's not only fundamental foundation for strength conditioning and fitness professionals, you've given us that exact same touchstone for the clinician. Know these lifts and own these lifts. One of the reasons I think a lot of chiropractors and athletic trainers and physical therapists don't like to deadlift is they've never met a healthy person who deadlifts. They're going to meet a lot of healthy people who deadlift in the StrongFirst community, and that's because they do it right, and they never try to do it before they own the movement or own the technical precision in the lift. And those are some things. You don't have to know 30 exercises. I'd rather you know 3 or 4 at the level of a expert. And I think that's tangible and possible for clinicians. I really do.
Absolutely. And I think the goal within functional movement systems for a long time has been that community, that ability for the trainer to refer to the medical professional, for the medical professional to refer to a fitness professional, and know that we're somewhat on the same page, that indications and contraindications are going to be listened to, and that there can be a much better integration. And I think the Foundation Strength event is just a great way to be introduced to excellent corrective work, excellent strength work, our reloads, and our static dynamic motor control performance lifts. I am really looking forward to this one. Plus, we get to have all kinds of live case studies on the 3rd day, which is going to provide lots of entertainment and learning.
That's spot on, and people are always asking. We really enjoyed watching you and Brett develop your kettlebell and FMS collaboration. We've seen it on video. We've seen it on YouTube. When are you guys working together again? Well, this is us. telling you we are, inviting you to when we are, because both of our schedules get busier and busier. And as old as I'm getting, I may just decide not to get on planes one day. But I tell you what, I'm going to be there to teach with you and try to improve on some of the work we've already done. And just so everybody knows, the improvement is going to follow the same template that I think Pavel set down for us in his new book, Simple and Sinister. He literally pressed himself on a program minimum. This is the absolute minimum. And I think one thing that any medical professional can appreciate, first of all, you and I are going to teach this. You're an athletic trainer, I'm a physical therapist, is the minimum effective dose. We're not here to use up your time and use every piece of equipment in the gym. We're going to use a bare minimum of equipment, a bare minimum of time, and a very, very efficient and economical programming to give you the minimal effective dose that will keep you moving well and maintain a respectful degree of strength in the process. Everybody's always asking, when can I see you and Brett teach again? If you don't show up, I can't guarantee the next event, but I can sure guarantee this one because it's been on my calendar for about a year now.
That's it. I'm looking forward to it.
All the information that you need to find out more about this event is attached to this audio file in PDF form. Well, I guess I'll see you there, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
All right, buddy. See you.